Everyone, and welcome back to the PNY PRO Podcast. I am here with Bianca, and we have some special guests here for this episode that we're excited to dive into, and with our partner Data Monsters, and we also have Smart Spatial here. So we have Dan from Data Monsters and Arthur from Smart Spatial. How are you two doing?
Doing great. Thank you, Derek. Nice to be here. Hi, Bianca.
Hi, how are you both? It's so nice to see you again. But just to get started, get a little bit familiarity with our audience, can you both take your turns respectively introducing yourselves and telling a little bit about your company?
Of course, Dan. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, absolutely. So here actually I wear two hats simultaneously. So I'm a VP of AI at Data Monsters. And at the same time, I'm also the CPO at Smart Spatial. So, at Data Monsters, I'm running both the business side and the technical side of business. And Data Monsters is the consulting company, specifically in the AI space. It is the NVIDIA elite partner in this space since 2016. So it's a very very experienced company. So, and that's my role. And please, Arthur.
Thank you, Dan. I'm Arthur. I'm the CRO and the co-founder of Smart Spatial. And then Smart Spatial is really about taking digital twin visualization and data to the next modern level. My personal experience is in the built environment. So buildings, digital infrastructures. I've been in that space for about 17 years, working with systems integrators and deploying many different types of projects, everything from things like the Google campus to commercial real estate. The bottom line is that my background is about data integration, so actually live telemetry data, the IoT sensory networks, and high-end data visualization. And Smart Spatial, we founded about 2 years ago to take that into the metaverse, into the digital twin, into high fidelity visualization space, which is now possible with advancements in GPU gaming technologies and interoperability of architectural software with visualization tools.
Yeah, and I think Smart Spatial came through with our GTC demo along with Data Monsters, and I think maybe starting with you, Dan. I know we showed the AI avatar. We got to work on that whole project together, and then Smart Spatial was able to take that a whole step further, which we'll get into with NVIDIA Omniverse Enterprise digital twin of a data center. So, I guess from a Data Monster standpoint, Dan, so how we know the process, but for the viewers and them listening and tuning into this podcast, how's that go? How's everything get set up with Data Monsters for just say AI avatar that we displayed at the PNY booth at GTC?
So this market is growing incredibly fast. So that's so interesting to observe how it's developing. So NVIDIA started this a few years back, and that was so very early steps. It was very slow, and it was really hard. It was super expensive to create first avatars. So now it's getting up to speed. So the technology is much more mature, and there are so many options how you can do that. And so it grows from the technology side, and it grows from the client perspective. So we see a lot of demand there. Now we are not just reaching out to customers and showing them what's possible, but customers are coming with the idea that they need avatars, right? So for different use cases. So, and we got a lot of interest during the GTC, right? So it was a very good spot actually of the trade floor, right? So the place was excellent. So that was the very central corridor between the main entrance and NVIDIA. So we got a nice flow of customer, visitors, and we got a lot of interest. Every person was just stopping by and what's that? So I want to try that. I want to talk to virtual Derek. So Well, I still don't know, is it you real on the on this podcast or it's your copy? Yeah. So and it was real time, right? So you was able to ask questions about PNY, about NVIDIA, about the show. So it knows it knew everything about like the event and the technology there. So and people were really excited to see that in action. And we got a lot of requests from that. So and that's a wonderful thing. So to see uh, how this technology evolves, then this is a completely new market, right? So that's something new.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, Dan, with the conversations and the interactions you were having with attendees, seeing the avatar, because I know at least for me, this was the first time I've seen an AI avatar in person, and it being Derek was just cherry on top of the cake, but it was great. But my question is, what were those conversations like that you were having with attendees that were coming up to this demo and, they're getting that wow moment and it had that wow factor? What were these conversations like? Was it educational? Was it just dumbfoundment? Like, what were people saying? What was the reaction like?
The audience was very broad, right? So there were different people and they were coming with all their own ideas and questions. Like technical people were interested in how did you do it, right? So what kind of hardware are you using, right? So what are these amazing fans that are in there? So what is it, an AI behind that? Are you using like maybe ChatGPT or something, right? So asking about the architecture basically. So then there were like business people and their questions, well, how can I use that in my business, right? So can I install it in my retail store? Or, okay, I'm a manufacturer, how these avatars can be used in manufacturing, right? So depending on each person's perspective, those questions were absolutely different. So, and yeah, and a lot of people just didn't knew about that, so that this is possible. It's a lot of education. You're right.
Yeah, and I feel like this whole story came together like perfectly. And between Data Monsters and Smart Spatial, Arthur, let's get into that part of it, because not only was this an interactive avatar, you can, like you said, Dan, you can go up, ask about GTC, ask about PY, NVIDIA, Data Monsters, all of us. But Smart Spatial, you did something unique to take the demo a step further with digital twin utilizing NVIDIA Omniverse Enterprise. So, can you get a little bit more into that and kind of how that came to life and was able to, mold well together with this whole demo and this AI avatar from Data Masters?
Yeah, no, this is a fun one. It was a fun one, frankly, because of the evolution in 3D and spatial interfaces overall. Because if you take even maybe 5-6 years back, if somebody wanted to have a 3D model of a virtual data center, right, with all the equipment and everything else involved into it, it was very difficult to make. So the 3D itself took a while. It took a lot of labor to produce. That's number one. And then second of all, being able to then view the interface, right, is very difficult. Typically with 3D, there's specialized software, specialized hardware required. So one of the things that helped a lot and frankly were the founding stones of Smart Spatial is how do we make these rich environments extremely fast and how do we make them accessible? And on the fast side, I think we were approached maybe 4 weeks before the show as, hey, can you build us a data center? We want to show it at the show in 4 weeks and go, right? So there's a couple advancements that happened. Number one is that the company automation that we worked with, they actually had the architectural models. So if you think about it, any new site that's being developed or has been developed in the last maybe 10, 15 years, they have a lot of work that was produced by the architects designing the space, designing the structure. If it's equipment, in the case of engineering, they're designing the model, right, of that piece of equipment. And now there's enough interoperability where we can ingest those raw structural models and produce a very high fidelity visual from them extremely fast in a matter of days. And then inside of the Smart Spatial framework, we're able to then add interactivity, navigation. You can walk the model, you can fly through the model, You can navigate from one piece of equipment to another, take me to the servers, show me the CDU. So it's very, very intuitive and simple to use. And then, of course, there's the delivery aspect. There's no proprietary software required. We just, we can install it on a GPU-powered gateway or run it in the cloud. In the case of a trade show, running a digital twin locally is important because you don't want to be reliant on networks, right? So that capability exists, making it very accessible. And then the funnest part to me was actually tying the model, utilizing data integration. We really like MQTT or APIs for data integration, but we were actually controlling the model with the AI avatar. So not only could people play with it with a touch screen or keyboard, but they would also be able to speak to the digital twin and do things like, where is the cooling equipment? Where are the Blackwell GPU servers? Right? Take me to the entrance, and then the digital twin would respond, and then the avatar would provide more context. So I think this combination of digital twinning plus agentic AI, extremely rapid ability to actually build it and deploy it, and then ability to consume it, to run it on any laptop or screen or even tablet. That's exciting because you can actually make those things pretty fast, and you can access them easily. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely was fun to see it in person and see everybody interact with it. It was really cool. And especially hearing the prep work and what was put into it and seeing what was put into it. I mean, we had those meetings of seeing like the little renders of Derek and how it would change every week. So that was really exciting. But I really like the point that you brought up, Arthur, about how difficult something like this used to be. I think you said about 10 years ago, like this was extremely difficult. It was a huge undertaking to now we've gotten to a point where you can create this not only 3D model, digital twin of a data center, but you can also connect it to an agentic AI and have attendees talk to it to tell it where to go. Like it's this crazy leap forward. And I think it goes really well hand in hand with what we saw at GTC, which was the launch of all the Blackwell products. So I'm just curious to get both of your opinions on, what does that mean? What does something like that type of advancement mean for these two companies? What is the next thing that's going to be possible for both of you? And how does that make the work that you do even more efficient and the changes that we're going to see in the next 10 years?
That's an excellent one. So to me, it's a couple things. Number one is that things are moving extremely fast. I mean, even just I think last week, Google announced that the number of tokens that they've utilized grew by 50x. So 50 times in 2024 versus 2025 so far. I mean, this is mind-boggling. It's ridiculous use of AI. So I think that it has to be embraced in every new product and offering, because it brings tremendous value from a toolset standpoint, right? Because it was fun to see people interact with the twin at a trade show, but what we are deploying pretty actively now is the same exact type of scenarios in operational settings. So where the asset operators, the facility managers, the maintenance guys, right, they're not just having fun with it and speaking to AI, they're asking tangible questions such as, where is a piece of equipment located? I need to go fix it, right? Show me. Or what was the last thing that was done to the unit? Pull up the maintenance manuals. It tremendously actually streamlines day-to-day operations, providing very clear ROI as you run facility sites, data centers, and equipment, right? The training aspect of it is another very interesting point, because now you're combining AI, which is great for training as is, right? It can make you test quizzes and do all kinds of fun stuff. But now combine that with visuals, right? With high fidelity metaverse-like visuals, immersive environments with spatial awareness, that helps basically level up the workforce. So these things are very exciting. And to me, it's about getting faster adoption, right? AI is very fast. People are scrambling to figure out how to integrate it into their lives and businesses. I think the same trend is happening with digital twins, but a little bit slower. But to me, it's inevitable that every physical asset that exists, it will have a digital twin. of high fidelity, especially in a industrial and operational setting. And I'm just excited as more people adopt it.
Yeah, and I think just that whole acceleration and just the way AI is evolving. I think we've talked about in the last episode, to where I feel like GTC the following year, it was like AI was still new. Some people were still just now is I don't know like the right word scared, but they're kind of like, oh, AI is gonna take over. But now this year, it seemed like everybody just they're accepting and they understand like the benefit from different markets and how again it accelerates workflows. Like you said earlier, it's like, hey, we're going to GTC. We have this cool idea. I know it's only 4 weeks, but can you make this work? And sure enough, we're able to do that in a quick turnaround time, which was awesome. So Dan, with all these advancements, like how do you see this accelerating your capabilities with just data monsters and AI avatars and such?
Yeah, so it's obviously twofold. So on one end, it streamlines uh, the development process, right? So now we can train models faster, and we can deliver those systems just in days or weeks, right? So instead of months or years previously. So and the second part is actually uh, the capabilities, right? So now, for example, it can be multilingual. Now it can process more data on the back end, right? So now we can do more stuff. So and it becomes cheaper. So it becomes, so we're bringing more superhuman abilities, right? So more and more, and at the same time it goes cheaper and cheaper. So, and this is like what happens typically with any new technologies, right? So that's what's happening. And but one more thing, it's not only superhuman, but it's also very human, right? So uh like bringing avatars as a technology, it's a very human approach. So you could you can do like ChatGPT, right? So like a very straightforward conversational chat and ask all the questions, but like having this avatar, a copy of a real human, with emotions, like with mimics, right? So with animation, so that makes this technology very natural and very it's very easy to communicate to. So it breaks barriers we're talking about, right? That's why people are saying thank you when they finish conversations with ChatGPT, right? So they like this very conversational thing. It's not just a technology; it's something bigger than that. So, and like having better processors, better technology, so it just gives us like technical nerds like me and Arthur, so it gives us more capability to bring more amazing features to end users. That's what's happening.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And that brings up a really good point. I think that really ties everything together of as we get further into this technology, as we get more advanced, or I guess we get more embedded into this technology, we can just push it even further. And a big focus from GTC, I think, was this next chapter of AI and the idea of physical AI. So kind of a hypothetical, maybe not hypothetical, but I just wanted to know as we're closing out and, looking to the next chapter and everything, what do you both hope to see with data monsters and smart spatial with the idea of physical AI in mind? Is there something you have planning? Is there something you hope to see one day? But I just wanted to get your thoughts with that in mind.
Let me give it a stab, if you will. I think that to me, the most beautiful thing about compute and evolutions in compute is the capabilities that it produces. So in the case of Smart Spatial, one of the things that is very important is things like simulation of environments. And that is important when you're, building something new, when you're engineering a new component. In data centers, everybody talks about simulating the cooling, doing computational fluid dynamics and things of that nature. And they offer some accuracy. They are also pretty extensive and difficult to set up with limited physics capabilities. It's a lot of human labor and ingenuity putting those simulations together. So as we get more compute, I do see that these things will become a lot more accessible. And they will be a lot more accessible because digital twins innately will have enough compute to be completely world-like from a physics perspective, from all the materials, all the flow, the weather, and so on and so forth, which would allow users not to purpose build a simulation, but to just turn it on. So there will be enough knowledge in the models and enough compute, right, to process real-world scenarios where, just like today, you say, hey, ChatGPT, I came up with an idea, make me a picture of a cat or on a scooter, right? But with more extensive compute, you can say, hey, I just came up with an idea. I think I want to move a tenant in my building, simulate how I would restructure the floor plans, and do I need to modify any cooling because now it's going to be, an industrial site versus a residential site. And the model just has enough knowledge and compute to just do it for you. So I think a direction like that would be very exciting. And that obviously takes very accurate digital twinning, right, true to world, and tremendous amount of compute capability to make it ad hoc and to make the physics realistic. Stuff like that makes me excited.
I'm waiting for the day when someone uses an AI model and says, build me out my house with A, B, C, and it lists out, gives it the visual render, and then someone builds that house. Like, I could just see that happening. That's
So cool.
That would be it's mind blowing. It's just what you can do with AI.
Yeah, so my dream is to bring these superpowers, how I call them, to people, right, through different technologies, through avatars and through digital twins. And like in digital twins, those superpowers are like all seeing, right? So you can see everything that's happening there. It's levitation, so you can float in this space and be in any location. So you can do teleportation, right? So you can immediately be in another place, etc. So I hope at some point we'll be able to manipulate the physical world through those digital twins, right? So and also like avatars, they're kind of the channel to knowledge, right? So and to extensive knowledge and communication in multi languages. So I think that's my dream, right? So that's maybe very childish. Like every every child dreams about like being this superhero doing something magic, right? So now we can do it. Now we can bring it to life, right? So maybe in some virtual worlds, like in digital worlds, but we are coming close to the moment when those two worlds will be very deeply connected, right? So, and everything that happens in digital worlds will happen also in the real world, right? So that will be like a two-way communication. I clearly see that because now we are having more and more robots, right? So that operate in real world. So now you can also move things in digital twins, and they will move in the real world as well through robots. Like it's not so crazy as it can sound, right? So that's why it's my dream, and I think that it's pretty much doable.
Well, Dan, I can tell you made one of my childhood dreams come true because I just remember seeing avatars and all this in movies, and like one day I am going to be an avatar, and sure enough, you guys made it happen. So I can chalk that off the good old thoughts that were. Yeah, childhood memory right there. Just because it is. It's like something you always think of, and you're just this is something out of a movie, and here we are, actually living in it and seeing this space come to life with AI.
Yeah, we're closer and closer to those dreams every day, Dan. I can see it now. But yeah, Dan, Arthur, thank you again for such a wonderful episode. It was so awesome to have this conversation with you both, reflect on our time at GTC, reflect on our partnership, reflect on the future before it's even happened, and our hopes and dreams. So thank you everyone to tuning into this episode of the PNY Pro Podcast. Be sure to check into all of our socials to stay up to date with the latest content. You can listen to this episode on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms and watch on YouTube. We'll see you in the next one.